right here on listener-supported KCBI. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I reminded all of us about the great theologian Garth Brooks and his song Unanswered Prayers, and we had fun with that. Well, God got my attention very recently. One day last week, I was quietly whispered to the Lord and asked Him to deliver me from a tough situation that I was facing, and I heard Him ever so gently respond, "Child, you don't know what you're asking." Of course, that wasn't the answer that I wanted, but I knew that He was telling me that if He delivered me, which He could have done it so quickly that it really wouldn't be for my good. You know, Isaiah 64:4 says that God acts on behalf of those who wait for Him. But if you're like me, and I believe that most of you this morning are, waiting is not something that we do very well. Well, Dr. Charles Stanley reminds us today that there are 3 reasons that believers are called to wait. First, God may be preparing us to receive His blessings. Perhaps we need new skills or greater maturity. Sometimes people require fresh spiritual insight before our hands are ready to hold what our hearts desire. For example, remember King David? He waited years to sit on his appointed throne, but when he did, he was a wise, strong, and battle-tested king. Well, the second reason is the Father is often teaching us to have confidence in Him. I mean, how would we ever learn faith if God immediately fulfilled our every request? You know, in my own life, I'm learning to develop a new habit by saying, "I trust you, Jesus." No matter how we justify rushing ahead of God, what we're really saying when we do that is, "Lord, I don't really trust you at all." And then finally, the Lord will at times withhold blessing to protect us from harm that we can't see, and I believe that's what He was doing to me last week. You know, we may never find out what causes the delays in our life, but we can be assured that God examines the object of our desire closely before placing it in our hands. Yes, waiting is never easy, particularly in this instant everything world. But of course, rushing ahead of God short-circuits God's best for us. And if you're like me, and I believe that most of you are this morning, you truly do want God's best. So we need to learn how to wait on Him, and maybe even learn a new habit today by saying, "I trust you, Jesus." Will you do that with me?